Hi, this is Dr. Raya, and I wanted to go over the Glassdoor tutorial for looking for work. I've been promising that I would share additional resources for you. If you go to my Facebook site or my LinkedIn, you'll see that I already have an Indeed tutorial on there for how to automate your job search. So today I'd like to go over Glassdoors. Many of you are probably already aware of Glassdoors and how to utilize it, but I want to make sure that I highlight as much of the functionality as possible so that, again, you're optimizing your job search. So hopefully I am sharing my screen for Glassdoors. And all I did was Google it. You can go in and hit either log in with your Facebook, you can log in with your Google account. It's really easy to do. They make it really easy for you. But for you to have a fully loaded profile, they want you to list your current or prior employer and your job title and any salary specifications that you can share. And there's a reason why they do this, and I will show this to you. And again, I find it very helpful when you're looking for work. So this is the home landing page. And what we're going to do is, for example, I recently had a client who had been a K through 12 teacher. He had transitioned into healthcare and was looking to continue to expand in that area of work. He was unable at the moment to continue with healthcare, but he is on the job market, so he needs to start working. And so we talked about other areas of possibility. For example, maybe going into healthcare at a university, right? Maybe even teaching at a university. And so, for example, I want to, with that example in mind, again, this is probably a good time for all of us to kind of push our comfort zone and think about other industries where our skill sets are translatable and relatable. So in this example with this client, I mean, he's got healthcare experience, he's got teaching experience. Where could he morph to kind of maximize his job search? So let's just plug in university and see what pops up. Did not spell that right. And just for kicks, let's put remote work. Many of us don't have a lot of local universities in our area, so remote work may not be the worst possible scenario. And I think right now with our current pandemic situation, remote work is starting to make a lot of sense for a lot of us, right? So we're going to hit university, jobs, and remote work, and let's just see what happens. Okay, excuse me. So the search outcome is based on most relevant. You could do most recent, right? Sometimes that's the better scenario that you should be looking into, going for more recent. But we'll go ahead and check out what they have for most relevant. Now, there's some interesting default, right? So 50 to 110K, include no salary data, that's fine. So let's just take a look at that. So the first thing that comes up is Coursera. Coursera is I would call it like a platform for taking courses and learning more. So we're going to learn more about Coursera since we're here. This is an assistant director of university partnerships. If you follow my blog, my advice to you when looking for work is always to jump down to the required or the preferred skills, right? You would hate to read this job description, fall in love with it, and then hit the requirements and realize that you're not at all qualified for the job. So we're going to go to your skills. They're asking for 5 to 10 years of experience in client-facing roles, consulting, business development, account management, including time in higher education, not required, but including anything that you've spent in there, right? So a lot of us fall into this bracket, so it might be worth exploring. If you're currently looking for work or you're unemployed, you may be collecting unemployment, and the requirement for that is usually to list the jobs that you're applying to. So this might not be a bad idea for you to consider. You can create a job alert if you like the outcome of the job search that you've gotten right now, and that way you can have it set at a daily or a weekly basis, and you can easily apply for work. You could fully load your profile with your resume, your job preferences, and that way would make it a little easier for you to apply. They're looking for an MBA or prior consulting experience. So, and it's strongly preferred. It's not required. So you may still want to apply for it. Maybe you've got a different master's degree, but maybe you fill most of this bucket. So you may want to consider applying for it. You have an option here. So you can click the little heart and it'll save the job. And then that way it'll, you know, if you're just going to go through, save a bunch of jobs and then spend the afternoon looking for jobs, that might be a good idea. If you follow my blog, again, the idea of creating a habit loop, right? You want to get in the habit of looking for work. If you're on the job market, you want to make it consistent. You want to leave no rock unturned, right? Especially for something that you're interested in. Okay, so far this sounds like it might be good, right? I would go back and read the job description. For most of us, we're interested in working for an employer that's a good employer, right? So there's some information about the company. They're based in California. And the other nice thing is that they've got ratings for this company. So 66% of the people that work here would recommend a friend to work here. And it's got almost an 80% approval of the CEO, which is probably a good thing. There are some other key factors listed on there: work-life balance, compensation and benefits, culture and value. All of those things look pretty good, right? So that's a plus for them. Salary. Now, if you remember at the beginning of my recording, we talked about how when you go in to create your profile, they're going to ask you for your last employer and the salary, or your current employer and the salary. And there's a reason for that. Because, for example, now that Coursera is posting any jobs, you can go in there. If you were looking for a software engineer job, there's 27 salaries listed on there. Does that make this job, the information related to this job, probably more accurate? It probably should, right? Versus 5 salaries, right? That may not be a good basis for comparison. You may have somebody who's really high and somebody who's really low. So this salary information is super useful for you. And again, you can go back and apply, or you could hit apply now. All right, so let's go through the rest of this. Online adjunct, obviously you'd have to probably have some experience as a graphic designer. Chief Impact Officer, that sounds interesting. And the nice thing about this is that there's a orange highlight there that says they're actively hiring. This is not an employer, hopefully, that posted this pre-pandemic and then all of a sudden they're not hiring anymore, right? And they're making it easy for you to apply. So easily apply, that probably means you would be able to apply with your information, or you can easily just load your resume and be done with it. An internal hiring window. Okay, so Kaplan, Student Success Manager. Maybe you don't have teaching experience. Maybe you're not interested in teaching, right? A Student Success Manager may be more of what you're looking for. And again, this is a remote position. So that would mean it's available to the majority of us. So we're going to scroll down. They want a bachelor's degree. So if you've got at least a bachelor's degree, you'd be a prime candidate, or a closely related field, right? Business, education, psychology, communication, something related to that. 3 to 5 years experience in counseling, advising, customer service, sales. A lot of people would probably fit into that bucket. 2 years of experience for every year of formal education required. You know, so go through this. It sounds like it could be a good fit, right? You want to check out the company. They're based in Florida. The ratings, it's about middle, 3.3. Half of everybody that works there would recommend this employer to a friend, and a 68 approval rate of the CEO. And again, the salary. So you could go in here, and this is a Student Success Manager. It's not listed on here, but you've got the option here to click on this and hit see all salaries for Kaplan. Director, let's look at the business. Director, students, let's just look up Student Success Manager. Find salaries. Okay, so there's none for this particular job. But you could go back and probably generalize a little bit. And at least that would let you know if you're in the ballpark, right? If you're not in the ballpark, it may not be in your best interest to apply. You may not want to spend a lot of time applying. But if I just look up a general manager for Kaplan, the salary range is somewhere between 36 and 115. So the average is about 64,000. There's only 3 salaries noted on here, so this may not be the best gauge for salary, but at least it gives you some idea. If you're in the ballpark, I would strongly consider it. So that's, kind of a high level of how to utilize Kaplan. Like we've talked about the jobs, the company reviews, the salaries. There's an interview tab. So you can go in there and get feedback on their interview process. And since we were on Kaplan, salaries, let's look at admission counselor. So an admission counselor at Kaplan makes about $45,000. But again, it's a pretty wide range, 35 to 78K. That includes cash bonuses, stock bonus, profit sharing, any of those things. So an interesting breakdown. Sorry, let's go back to interviews. So you've got some pretty good feedback, right? Almost everyone says they've had a positive interview experience. 57% of people applied online that got an interview. 16% were contacted by a recruiter, and 11% based on an in-person application. So again, just insightful information to help your job search be a little easier. They've got a salary calculator, so you can go in there, type your region and your title, and it should be able to give you, again, a wide range of what your salary is and whether or not it's competitive. So that's pretty much it for Glassdoors. Again, I really like it. I like that there's a lot of salary-based information, and that way you know whether or not to spend your time applying for things. The other feature is that when you go in and you create a job alert, you will start to get emails in your inbox that kind of look like this. So if you've ever clicked on a job, for example, I'm not sure why I'm getting information science, but I guess at some point I clicked on something that said market research. And so it will also suggest positions that you may be interested in. And it certainly wouldn't hurt to take a look at that. Director of Clinical Research, it's got a nice salary range on there, and that way you know whether or not to apply. Senior Director, okay, I'm not a nurse, but if I was, this would be a good position that I may want to consider applying for. So anyway, that's a high-level Glassdoor job search. Again, you can create your job alerts to make your job search easier on you, and so that you can get automated notices in your inbox. Again, if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me on my Facebook page or my email, and you can find that all on my Facebook. Thank you so much. This is Dr. Ginger Raya.